the Book of Wisdom was written not that long before the fullness of light was given to mankind. Here we are in the last stages of the Old Covenant, and as yet there is not clarity of vision with regard to resurrection, with regard to vision, with regard to grace. There is a one-liner in the work of Chateaubriand, the French writer, which goes like this: Le chant naturel de l'homme est triste. The natural song of man is sad. Something of that breaks through in wisdom literature. Reading the cries of the heart of Job, reading the psalmist as he cries out on his part, reading the author of the book of Ecclesiastes, where all is vanity, reading here the book of wisdom, one sees man groping in the dark, looking for hope, clutching at straws. This is as yet incomplete, and the completeness comes on the third day, when light breaks through and light takes over our darkened world. Christ opens the gates. Until then they are barred. None could enter glory until it was pronounced, it is accomplished. And so man all over this planet and all over the map of time needs that wisdom of which the psalm speaks. There is this cry for wisdom of heart, and in it is the cry for an awareness of the shortness of life. Life is very short, and how much of it goes awry, how much of it is spent, how much leakage of precious time and energy goes in the wrong sectors and the wrong directions. People think they are something when they have a social rank. A slave in antiquity was not of that order. It was the last on the social rung, and if that slave happened to be a fugitive, he was in big trouble, because there was severe punishment, cruel and awful, for a slave that actually fled. And so, when Onesimus flees to Paul, who at this stage is in prison, he comes as somebody in serious trouble. And Paul brings the argument onto a higher level than that of the social caste system. Here we're in the ambit of grace and true brotherhood amongst those redeemed in the precious blood of Jesus. And there is therefore hope that he will be taken back without cruelty, and that he will be recognized for what he is, an immortal soul. It would seem that some people had a difficulty in accepting the complete equality of every person on earth, questioning whether slaves had souls and the like. These people are fully human, and one thinks actually of the millions of people who have gone into the beyond as second-class citizens. The Islamic bloc did reduce many Europeans to this state, so much so that the Trinitarians and the like spent their time ransoming them. It was an awful state. Slavery was practiced hugely, until not that long ago on this planet, and even by civilized countries. But there are also other forms of slavery. I think we know what we mean. The whole notion of using a person is a form of slavery. We can enslave people to ourselves psychologically. We can bind people's souls. If we realize what a soul is, our attitude will be one of standing back in awe. Here we have someone who will not die, in the sense that a soul will never stop being. It will go up or down, and we have power to help it go up rather than down, as we have power to help it go down rather than up by attitude. Pain can demolish a soul. We can damage profoundly each other, and that damage can lead to damage in the beyond. The Gospel also is an invitation to sit down and calculate before we make great decisions. Here we have a vocational decision. Are we able to give all to Jesus? Many people try to do that with the evangelical counsels and then draw back. It is reported that in the early stages, the young people asked Our Blessed Lady at Medjugorje what they should do. And according to the response that was given to us, the answer would have been in this direction. It would please her to see them in the religious life and in the seminary, but that they were not to come out afterwards. Both states, marriage or that of the consecrated life, were good, but the element of causing scandal was not good or helpful. And the Lord did actually, in another passage of the Gospel, say something powerful about laying one's hand to the plough and then looking back. So this radicality breaks through here in the Gospel. Which of you here, intending to build a tower, would not first sit down and work out the cost? So the notion of preparing and thinking in advance whether we can complete comes into it. So in the same way, none of you can be my disciple unless he gives up all his possessions. And possessions here are also emotional and affective. If any man comes to me without hating his father, mother, wife, children, brothers, sisters, yes, and his own life too, he cannot be my disciple. The Hebrew is very muscular, and it has this direct way of putting what we would call preferential treatment. Here, the notion of hating is specifically Semitic, but we know what the Lord is meaning and trying to get through to us in his powerful language. Interestingly, the corresponding list in Matthew does not contain the word wife. Luke has the word wife, so this evangelical counsel is there in its fullness in Luke. Marriage comes into it, the radicality. This then is the one thing that only the Son of God can ask for. Founders of religions like Muhammad do not ask for that. The Lord asks for this totality in which he alone has the throne of the heart. The Lord alone can ask for that. And when it comes to vocational work, one can cast aside questions of the rights of man if one is really collocating the argument in this wider sector of actually desiring to be bonded only and totally with the Lord in that sense. It makes sense, but only in that context, that a bonding with the Blessed Trinity can actually lead to a separation in sharing life with one other human being to that level. It is hugely demanding, but only the Lord can ask it. And the Catholic Church, asking the same thing, is the one body that can actually do that. It is different from, for instance, any form of Protestantism. This demand is the demand of God Himself and makes sense only on the mystical level. If one understands what the priesthood is, then one sees how it makes huge sense. The rights of God, the otherness of God, are such that it can claim all: time, heart, mind, energy. So the Lord reigns on every level. There are arguments against that, but to understand the nature of the priesthood is to understand the nature of the call to that priesthood, and therefore totality of gift. If we lose that, we will lose many graces, and man will once again get into the house of God and reign. It is rather sad that people cannot see what is happening. The demon hates the priesthood. The demon is trying to weaken the Catholic Church. If we're not careful, we will collude with him by merely social arguments.